It's so easy to get caught up in making a quilted project that is easy and simple and fast and wonderful and all those great descriptive words. But is it really something you're going to use? Is it really something that's practical? Well, we don't expect everything to be practical, but we want it beautiful, we want it easy, and we want to be able to use it. I am talking about setting up your next tablescape with beautifully accessorized bowl cozies. One for everybody. They're reversible. You can do them by color. You can do them by size. You can do anything you want with them. And I'm going to show you the easiest way, a couple different ways actually, and then you choose what works best for you. I'm Lea Louise from Inspired Quilting by Lea Louise. And then to top it off, I've been using bandana fabric. Oh my goodness, this is the most adorable fabric. And it works perfectly for something like this. So let's get started. I want to show you how to do this. Here's a quick peek at the bandana fat quarter bundle I got, and I just love it. Look at all those colors. It is such a fun and such a great summer fabric to work with, and leisurely, sitting around the picnic table. This is perfect decor, and I love how this hot pad turned out. But notice there's lots more fabric and in beautiful colors. Wait till you see what I've come up with to add to your table. First, absolutely, you've got to check this video out and make your own hot pad with the Old Glory bandana on it. But then there's a few extra pieces you may not be able to do without. Let me show you what we can put together here. Next time you're thinking about a tablescape for entertaining, make it color coordinated. Everyone gets their own bowl cozy, and they're reversible. How wonderful is that? Plus, we get to do some circle quilting. This is fantastic. You can make them any size you want. A nice size for a small bowl here, or check this one out for a square casserole. Just by how you make your darts changes the size and the shape. Look at that. Oh my goodness, these are fantastic, and I can't wait to show you how to make your own. And the best part, this bandana fabric. How wonderful is that for summer barbecues and picnics and gatherings? It's just so cozy and comfy. Everybody will love them. So let me show you how to make these. If you love this fabric as much as me, I'll put the link down below. You may decide you need to have it too. With some of this beautiful bright bandana fabric, I needed to make some more little fun projects. And again, for the holiday, I love to come up with little things to put on the table to brighten it up. So I'm going to make some bowl cozies. And when we get together and have our 4th of July barbecue, or any barbecues this summer for that matter, it's nice to put things in a bowl, whether they need to be microwaved or just to kind of insulate them a little bit. Not that it'll do much in some 100-degree weather, but overall it makes the table look beautiful, and that's what this is all about. So I'm going to go ahead and I laid out my bandana fabric, and I'm cutting it according to what I have left. So of these two colors, which is yellow and light pink, I had 11.5 inches. So I cut out an 11.5 inch square. And these two pieces, let's see, what do I have? I have a green and a pink, and I have 5, 10, so I have 13.5 inches this way, and so I'm going to go 13.5 in the other direction. So that way we have squares. You can make oblongs, cut rectangles out to do like the casserole dishes, and that might be something we do later, but for summer we're doing super easy. So we've got 5, 10, 13.5, and that should be a square. And look, I still have more pieces. Oh my goodness. All right, so that's 13.5 by 13.5. We are good. And with a square, the best way to check it is go corner to corner. And if you line up, you're good. So these are my pieces. One of the most standard sizes you'll see online is 10" because you can use layer cakes. But if you have fat quarters or you have scraps left over that are sizable enough, go ahead and just cut it whatever size you want, and you can piece it. Remember the pretty Old Glory supersize hot pad? Go ahead and make some strips like this and then cut that out into your bowl cozy. How awesome would that be? Oh my goodness. Now, I need some batting. So let me go ahead and get some cutting done, and then I'll show you what we're doing next. And here are my 13.5" bowl cozy fabrics, and I have the batting cut out on the back. And what I'm going to do here real quick is just a little tiny bit of spray base just to hold things in the middle. And all I do is take my can of Oda 505 and I'll spray a little bit. Like I said, I don't want to use a lot because I don't have a cloth down. Usually I'll use a piece of fabric, or actually like an old sheet or something that I can use. And there we go. Put it down underneath so the overspray, but I'm making sure I spray to the center so that any overspray will kind of go out this way. And I do prefer spraying it on the fabric than the batting because it will hold better. So with this secured in place, I'm going to go ahead and quilt this. Now, what I want to do is do some circle quilting, and I just think that would be fun on a bowl cozy. Make sure my pieces line up. And like I said, this is a 13.5", so it'll be a bit larger than what we usually make. And I just think it's going to be kind of fun to try a different size. I think these colors will look great together. So I'm going to go ahead first and get my circle drawn. And I'm going to, actually I'll just use the bottom of the can. And I'll find the center. And I'll just put my 4 pieces, my 4 folds, kind of get my center here and give it a squeeze so I can find it. And then, let's see here, kind of go about there. Okay. And I'm using ink so I can see it. And it's not going to bleed through, so I'm not worried about that. So when I do a circle like this, I'm going to wipe this because I don't want it getting all over me. I draw my circle, and as I'm quilting it, I'm going to start in one place. So let's say this is my top center and this is my bottom center. So I'm going to start maybe a 1/2 inch before the top center, and I'm going to sew all the way around on the line, or as close to it as I can get. I want to go with a 1 inch, what do I want to say, quilting line. So I'm going to do a circle around here. Then as I come around, I'm going to come out and meet up to this circle at the 1 inch point. So you can draw it if it's easier. Generally, I just start quilting. And we're going to go around, and I'm going to show you. And, you know, even if you don't quite make it at that line and it takes you a little longer to get around, that's fine. You just want this to be nice and smooth. You don't want angles drawn in there. So I'm going to go ahead and mark this one because I will quilt both of them, and the inside and the outside. I don't know if that's going to make it too thick, but I think it'll be fun. So the little cozy that I showed you only has 1 layer of batting, and that just makes it nice and light and easy to manage. And I find the smaller size cozies are easier to turn inside out with a single layer of batting. You get that extra layer in there, and let's see, I'm going to draw my line here, and it gets kind of thick, so it can be hard to turn around. So there's my 1 inch. So again, I'm going to kind of come like this and go that way. And, this is a bowl cozy. This is the bottom side. It's going to be on the table under a bowl. Nobody's going to see it, but it's kind of fun. The circle around here is what will be visible. And I think that's going to be pretty cool. So let me go ahead and get started, and I'll show you how we do this. Well, I was ready to start quilting and decided I need to get my darts in first. So I have my nifty little 2-inch square. It's actually made for half square triangles. And what I did is I put a line here, and then drew a line between them. And I did that on all 4 corners. So it's going to be 2 over and 2 up on each of the corners. And this is a handy little tool. I received it at a quilt show. Actually, I was at QuiltCon, and this is from the Wright, WRIGHT fabric.com. They have an online shop, and they may sell these. I don't know, but I know they were gifts at QuiltCon. I don't know if they have them in the store. If they don't, that would be really cool if they did, because that's kind of fun. Okay, so we are going to quilt. I have a variegated thread in the bobbin, so that on this side we'll get colored thread. And I'm just going to use kind of a creamy white fabric for the top. So we're going to start, remember where we drew the circle, we have a top and our bottom. And so I'm going to actually start about a 1/2 inch before that point. That way, as I'm coming around to complete my circle, I will have a bit of overlap stitching to keep everything close together. So I'm going to get this lined up, and I don't want to have, let me just put this down here, I don't want to have any thread bunched up on the bottom, so I'm going to just lift it through to the top. So when you go down and pull it up, and then you'll get a loop, and you should be able to pull it out. There it is. Okay. And raise my foot. So I have both threads here to the side on the fabric, and I'm lined up, ready to approach the top of my circle. And I'm going to elongate my stitch just the littlest bit. All right, so we want to stay on that circle the first time around, as close as you can. Go slowly, and by starting with a larger size circle, which this one is right at about a 2-inch diameter, 2 inches from side to side, that's pretty easy to do. When you get the smaller circles in the center, those can be a challenge, and it can be hard to make those tight turns. You see, even here, I'm kind of wavering off, but we're talking about a bowl cozy. This is on the underside of the bowl cozy. Nobody's ever going to see it, so I am not terribly concerned about it. I just think this is going to be an adorable little project, and I'm just doing it for fun and sharing it with you in case you wanted to do something similar yourself. Okay, so you see I'm coming back to the top circle, and I'm going to sew over those few stitches, and then I'm just going to start coming out and about. I don't want to do it abruptly. I just want to take a slow curve until I get to the bottom. And then when I get down here, this is the dimension I want to sew. And it's probably about 1 inch. It can be anything you want. And just once you set your gauge down, you're good to go, because my walking foot is going to help. And that gauge is going to keep me right on track. So all I have to do is watch this. I'm not watching my needle, I'm watching my gauge over here. And look I'm doing this one-handed. My left hand is guiding the fabric while my right hand points. So that's how easy it is. I know you can do this. And we're just going to pick up some speed and go around the edges. As you get closer to the edge, you're going to just sew straight off. Keep in line here, and then just lift your foot and kind of come around to where the gauge will line up and your needle is on the edge of the fabric. And then we'll do it again. So we'll do this in each of the corners. And let's see, right about there. Now, this is optional, but since we have, concentric circles, it'd be nice to follow the pattern all the way out. So I'm going to do another round of circles around the corners. Let's see, whoops, right there. And I think that should do it. I'm not going to worry about this because I'm going to cut a bit of that corner off. I like it rounded just a little bit. So let me come through and cut my fabric, or excuse me, cut my threads, and then we'll see where we are. So you can see my circle quilting. It looks beautiful. And I'm going to do one other thing. And that's mark off 1 inch in the corner here. Okay, so I'm going to come down an inch there and an inch here. So I'm just going to cut this off like that. So when I sew around, then it's going to be easier to turn the piece inside out, because with this double layer of batting, it's going to be quite thick. And turning corners with a lot of batting can be tough. So if we make this more of a curve, it's going to be easier to turn and press and do the top stitching. So I'm all about making it easier. And if you're more comfortable with using a curved item like a bowl or a spool of thread, and I'll just put my spool here, draw right around, and cut it. As simple as that. Okay, there it is. So now what I want to do is show you the other side, what the quilting looks like. I didn't get anything dark enough. I think with that black, it's hard really to see it. There are some places where you can see the yellow stands out, the turquoise. You see that turquoise and the yellow, those stand out nicely. Some turquoise here. But so the idea is going to be to get something super bright if you want to do this. Now you can still see it. I like the look of it. I think it's going to be fine. I'm not worried about it. I'm not going to redo it in any way, but I just think it's a fun finish. So let me go ahead and get my other piece ready, and we'll put these together. Oh, you know what we can do real quick? Let's do our corners. We need to do the darts. So we'll line that up, and I'm going to take that gauge out of the way because I want to continue using my walking foot because that just makes it so much easier to sew with. And let me get that set. So I'm just going to follow along the line, make sure I get all the way to that point. Uh-oh. I think my thread might have... Let's see if my thread broke. Something happened. No, oh, just a little bit of it kind of bunched up there, but everything's good. And so once you do this, then you're going to give yourself a 1/4 inch trim, and there you go. So I'm going to do this on both my pieces and get them ready, and then we'll put them together, and this is just about finished. Can you believe how easy this is? And now that I have all my darts sewn and everything's good to go, I put my two pieces right side together. And the first thing I do is I pin them in each of the four corners where we have our darts, and I pin those seams open. Then the next thing is I pin the corners. Now I'm going to sew from the pink side that already has been cut. So when I did my pinning, I just let the corner hang off the other, but I wanted to show you that and turn this around. So as I'm sewing, I'll come around here and then I'll just sew around there and keep going all the way around the entire piece. Now what I'm going to do is leave about a 3-inch section. So I will leave it down here because it's easy to do it in a straight area from there to about right there. So as long as we have, like I said, well, let me measure it and I'll tell you exactly. 1, 2, look at that. 3 and not even an eighth. So 3 inches. I did pretty good there. And so I'm going to start here, come around, work around the whole piece, and then I'll stop here. We'll trim, we'll turn, we'll top stitch and go from there. So let me go ahead and get you back in so you can see what I'm doing. All right, so I have my marks here that will be open. I'll start sewing right there. And I want to move that pin, but it's holding everything where I need it. So I'll leave it there for a moment. Now I'm going to take between 1/4 and a 1/2 inch seam. A little more than 1/4, a little less, which would technically be about 3/8. And I think that'll be good. A 1/2 inch will create a bit more bulk around the outer edges than I care to deal with. So I'm going to curve around here instead of coming down and doing it at an angle, because again, that I think is going to help turning it right side out and not having to deal with poking out a point that doesn't always look really nice and square. So we're going to go around the circle when we get up here, and I'm just going to slow down while I go around. There we go. And then when I get down here, I'm just going to go straight to my next pin where my darts are lined up. And I'm going to open this. The underside I already have pinned open. And there was just a lot to try and hang on to with one pin. So I'll come down here, pull that pin out, and work my way around. Just like that. So I'm going to keep going around and I'll catch up with you when I get to the other end. And I've sewn all the way around, leaving this open right here. What I'm going to do is trim these corner pieces right here, just like that. But I'm also going to come in and trim that batting a little bit on both sides, because that's going to make it particularly thick, and I think it'll be easier to work with if it's not so thick. I want to make sure I don't cut my fabric too. There we go. There. Okay. Now, there's another thing I want to show you. So we see how we're going to trim those corners out. We also want to put some clips in here. This fabric, when we turn this around, this fabric needs to be able to spread out and lay flat on that curve. And the way it's sewn, it's not going to do that. So we are going to come in and we're going to cut right there at that seam. Not far, just halfway down. And I'm going to go a little, like every 1/8 of an inch. That way, what I want to show you is, do you see how nice that spreads out? And that's going to make it easier to sew, easier to turn, and easier to lay flat when we top stitch it. So do a stitch in the middle and then maybe two or three on each side. Then when we turn it around and top stitch, this is all going to be reinforced with another row of stitching. So we won't have any problems losing that. So let me finish my corners and I'll turn this around and show you how we finish off the top. And it's all sewn up. We have our opening here. And the way I find is the easiest is to go directly across to the opposite side. Put your thumb in the curve of that corner and bring it through. And then once you get that one in, you can sort of pull the other two sides out a little more easily. And you just sort of have to work your way through. And on these bigger ones, there's a lot of fabric in there, so it may take a few minutes to get it through. I'm going to fold this over. There we go. Once you get past that first little edge, they come through a whole lot easier. Whoops, just about there. Get this last one in. And there we are. So at this point, what we want to do is not only turn it inside out, but we want to smooth these edges as best we can. And what I do is I come and I kind of put my finger and thumb this way, and I sort of drag along this edge to flatten it a little bit. Actually, let me work from this side, I think. Like this. Okay. And so I'll just run my finger and thumb right along that edge, and it helps kind of smooth it. So when I go to sew, it's going to, lay better, and I can fold it over more easily. So see, you can, there it is. You can appreciate how those little notches in there make a difference, because that lays nice and smooth. Now, with the double batting, this is pretty darn thick, and it could be great for something that's coming right out of the oven, and maybe you have a pot of beans or something like that, some mac and cheese, and you want to make sure you have something to kind of insulate it a little bit, but also protect your hands while you're carrying it. And that's where that extra layer of batting comes in handy. All right, so now what we're going to do, I think I have it all together, is I think, what I'll do is I'm going to press this a little bit. I think pressing it is going to give me a bit more, alignment. The structure will kind of fall in place where I want it to be. So when I go to top stitch, it's going to be all set. So let me do a little pressing just on these outer corners. I can't really get in there at this point, but I do want to do these outer corners. So let me get that done and show you. I think it'll make a big difference. Now I have everything turned around, and what I'm doing is pinning the open end close. And what I do first is I'll pin one side down to help hold that seam allowance where I want it. And then I'll fold this one and put it right next to it and pin them both together. That seems to work best for me. And I'll do the same here. Just want to make sure your seam allowance is the same, so everything will lay nice and smooth. There we go. And so let's see how it looks on the other side. What I want to maybe do here is pull that pink out a little bit, or put the green in. That might be the easiest. There we are. Okay, just so they're relatively even along the way. And I think I'm going to sew with the pink side up and work my way around. Okay, now I didn't get these pressed yet because I spent time doing the pinning around the edge, which worked out good, but I'm really happy with how these are laying nice. All right, now let me go ahead and press these, and we'll get to sewing this edge and finish. There we are. my edges are pinned together, and I did press these, mostly just the tips, like the last couple inches, just to flatten that so as I go around it'll be a bit easier. Now, I need to sew this because it's open, and what I'm going to do is start over here, so a couple inches before the opening, and then we should be on our way. Let's see, I'm trying to decide if I want my needle in the middle. I'm going to bump my needle to the right, and that way it'll put me a little closer to the edge. Now, when you sew this part, this curve, you want to open the curve up so you can actually sew around it. And I'm going to lengthen that stitch because this is pretty thick. There we go. That moves a little easier. And just kind of turn it. There we are. Now, I'm going to take the pins out as I go. And I want to pull this top one out a little bit. Might be easier with my finger than using a pin. And then I'll use my stiletto to kind of hold it in place. I don't mind that I can see both fabrics from one side. I just don't want it to be, you know, that much. I mean, a little bit's fine, but I don't want a huge amount. All right, we'll just keep working around here. And once we get around this curve where we're closing the edges, it does get a bit easier. And you can see how pressing this helped because it's nice and smooth. It's laying flat. And I'll just kind of work my way down the side. And as I get close to the inside curve, I want to make sure this lays flat because otherwise you see how you can get some wrinkles and some buckling in there? We don't want that to happen. We want to let it open so we can sew right around that little semicircle. Just like that. And now come up the side and over the top. Alright, I'm going to get this straight through here. And that way, when I approach this inside curve, everything's going to lay nice and flat. Now this is where it's pretty thick because we have those dart seams in there too. If you don't have a walking foot, you may have some difficulty using the double batting, but the walking foot is doing a great job drawing that fabric through. And whoops, there's, glad I caught that one. Look at that, that piece is tucked in. And I'm going to need a pin or something to pull that out. I guess that's one I didn't get sewn or pressed. Alright, so we're going to pull that out there. Here we are. Just kind of massage it into place where we want it. And now I'm coming around the last curve. And just rotate around nice and easy. and then you want to join up with your previous stitching. And then overlap just a little bit to lock those stitches in. And that's it. All right. So let me turn this out. We'll go take a look and see how we like it. Now that you've seen how the large bowl cozy is made, I just want to show you a few differences on the smaller one. This is the most easy to do, and that's why I wanted to show this one, because that second layer of batting can make it a little more challenging, plus it's bigger. This, I'm going to just show you the couple changes you need to make, and it'll take you much less time. I think you'll enjoy this. So the first thing to notice is that we only use one layer of batting. So the batting is attached to one side and quilted, just as we did the other one. The second side, though, will not have any quilting. And because it's a small bowl cozy, that works out fine. The darts are holding everything together, as is the stitching around the edge. So I don't worry about this. Now, one thing is, you will be able to pull this fabric apart like that. If that's a problem for you, you could do something cute, like put a little button or a patch or an applique. Oh my goodness, how fun would that be? And just sew a little doodad in the middle. That would be adorable. And especially if you had letters and you were giving everybody their own cozy, it would have their initial. Okay, getting carried away. Let's stay on track. There are options if you want to actually attach these layers. Now, the second thing that's different would be the darts. So when we mark the darts, we want to fold our cozy in half. So we have a fold on this side and our open edges over here. Now, what we do is we mark along the fold and then along the cut edge in order to get this angled piece. Now, when we did the big one, let me get this laid out here. You can see if we put these, I'm going to put this behind. If we put these together on the fold, they come out, they both come to the 2-inch mark on the cozy. This one was 2 by 2. This one is 2 by 1. So where this makes a deeper bowl cozy, this one makes a more shallow bowl cozy, because we're only coming down that 1 inch, so we get a wider base because we're not removing quite so much fabric. It's shallow, and the single layer of batting makes it super, super light. And then that's it. From that, it's finished. You do the same things. So you can do this with any size. You can do this with a circle. Like I said, take your stripes here and draw a big circle and make a bowl cozy, or make a center table square. Oh my goodness, there are just so many options here. I get excited thinking about it all. So there you are. You are going to be in bowl cozy heaven with all these options. So get started. We're going to be barbecuing tomorrow, and we need to make that table beautiful when everybody arrives. I sure hope you enjoyed these bowl cozies today. I have had a lot of fun making them, and I still have a bit more fabric, so there are a few more that I'm going to get finished. But they're just a great idea and such fun to make. And I hope you're going to try it yourself. And if you enjoy this, please share the video. I'd love for you to share this with others so that we all can be making our bowl cozies and sharing them online. What fun. Thank you so much for being here. I really hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. Have a fantastic day and enjoy the holiday weekend. You be safe.